Huh. Oh, sorry. One day I'm going to beat that game. All right, well, today's news. The U.S. and Canada are at it again. Let's take a look what's happening here. Okay, now, Trump is announcing another 35% tariff on Canadian goods. Doesn't surprise me. He kind of... I think Trump looks at Canada as a freeloader. Now, the Daily Mail has a report here on what Trump is saying. Let's take a look and see what the news has to say about it. The letter revealed that he would raise tariffs on Canadian products to 35% on August 1st, which is a 10% increase in the current levy. As a person who is in business with ordering things from Canada, this hits me as well. Trump mentions that this is about fentanyl, about it traveling across the border. I don't know about you, but you don't hear about too many, drug smugglers in Canada making their way to the United States, unless it's probably to get illegal prescription medication across the border, which probably does happen more often than in Mexico. But let's see what else we got here before we make our final decision on this. Let's see. Trump said the United States will continue to work with Canada despite Canada having financially retaliated against the United States. Yeah, there's some reciprocal tariffs and things that Canada is doing. Canada is trying to play ball as if they are the big guy. Canada's not. I'm sorry, Canada. If you're watching, you're the little fish. When it comes to tariffs, the only country that's capable of doing what the United States is doing is the United States. Although maybe China. They might be able to do that. The reason being, the United States can technically manufacture and obtain just about everything it needs domestically. It's a large nation with a large population, a decent tax structure, an experienced workforce, although that experience is dwindling, which is why Trump's doing this now. If Trump was going to try this 10 years from now, I don't think he'd be able to do it. Most of the people that know how to do the things that we're going to be doing, manufacturing, mining, the things we outsource to other countries, it would most likely not work 10 years from now. That's why it's now or never. Excuse me. So that's why he's doing it now. Let's take a look a little bit more, though, before I finalize my opinion. He'll consider an adjustment to the letter if Canada works with me to stop the flow of fentanyl. This is where I disagree with Trump. I don't think Trump is being truthful about this. Fentanyl is not really that big of an issue coming from Canada. I mean, it's an issue in Canada, like most developed nations, which is a kind of disturbing thing to think about. The richer the country, the more likely you are to have a drug abuse problem, and not really a drug manufacturing problem. You find more addiction in countries that are well off. Canada's a well-off country with a lot of free time, and unfortunately, idle hands do the devil's work. Let's take a look, though, and see what else we got before I want to delve into the fentanyl crisis and show you that it may not be as bad from Canada as Trump's making it seem. I think that Trump is using that as an excuse to give him an option to change it if he wants to. If they just say, oh, we'll fix it, and he can just go, oh, well, we'll lower it down. Dang it. Been in Scaries. And I can't get past it. Well, let's let that ad run. Now, the Manhattan Institute has a report on this crisis from Canada. Therefore, it's useful to contrast a country's share of large seizures, which is share of the population, which serves as a proxy for the size of the local market. Counties along the Mexico border account for 2.35% of the U.S. population, but in 23-24, they hosted 40% of the nationwide quantity of fentanyl appearing in large seizures for both powder and pills. By contrast, countries in the lower 48 states that border Canada account for 3.1% of the population, so a little bit more, but only 1.2% of the powder and just 0.5% of the pills obtained in large seizures. That's basically none compared to Mexico. If you had a drug crisis, Canada is not the big fish. They're the small fish. They're barely anything at all. They're a minnow in the river. This is a waste of time if Trump's thinking that he's fixing a problem if it's fentanyl, which is why I don't think he's doing that. And I can't exit out of this, can I? There we go. Okay. I like Ben and Jerry's, but not that much. Although they're super woke now. But that's another video. So let's keep going here and see what else Daily Mail has on it. throughout current negotiation. Carney hit back on a statement on X on Thursday night. Throughout the current trade negotiations with the United States, Canadian government steadfastly defended our workers and businesses. We continue to do so and work towards a revised deal. So Canada's, being Canada. They are polite to a fault, but not. They'll show up with as many retaliations as they can. They had that one tax which they mentioned in here, the electronics tax. I think it was called the. Hold on. Here we are. In June, Trump said he was suspending trade talks with Canada over its plans to continue its digital services tax, which would hit U.S. technology companies. A few days later, talks resumed when Carney rescinded the tax. Trump's not taking anything. He wants something from Canada. He wants Canada to play his game and not Canada's game. And Canada is going to have to probably concede. There just isn't any other way Canada can survive. The trade with China that Canada has isn't enough. The trade with the UK and Europe isn't enough to offset any issue they would have with the United States. The United States accounts for, I think, 60 to 80% of Canadian trade, depending on what year you're looking at. That's that's a lot. You can't just replace that. However, the same could be said about the United States, but Trump doesn't care. He would rather make it here and pay a little extra for it than have another country benefit. So he's trying to level the playing field. I was alive back in the 90s, but I was a child, so I don't really remember. But NAFTA was what came out. That now is a North American Free Trade Agreement between the United States and Canada and Mexico. Basically no taxes on things that traveled across, pretty much. And it sounds like a neat thing, freedom and trade, and everybody's happy. Until you realize that other countries are undercutting you by, paying their employees less, having subsidies on the things that are you're competing against. Canada has a universal health care system, which means their employers don't have to pay into it. That means that every time a Canadian company hires an employee, they don't have to worry about paying for an extra benefit package, which means they can pay out less and sell their product for less. It's hard to compete when the government is doing your benefits package for you. I mean, that's a difficult thing to compete with. Now, I don't think Trump, like I said, is really out there trying to solve the fentanyl crisis. I, once again, will repeat, I think Trump is just saying that to make it look like he's doing something, and then he's going to switch it up once he gets something from Canada that he wants. The thing is, I don't know what he wants. He doesn't really want the tax to be that high. He wants something from Canada. Maybe he really does want it to be the 51st state. No offense to Canada. I don't want most of you. You're a bunch of Democrats. Well, I guess not really Democrats in Canada. You're liberals. They can keep Ontario, British Columbia, and Quebec. We'll take the rest. Those are the cool guys. The other guys, those are way too liberal to be a part of America. That'd be awesome, actually, if we just took the rest of Canada. Might as well. They basically do whatever we tell them to do, which is the problem here. This is why he's standing up. Carney is standing up to Trump because he looks at Trump as a bully, and Trump is kind of acting like one. That's kind of his thing. He is pushing the other countries to do what he wants. He's flexing American muscle, and he's making it work. That's why we had a bunch of bombers drop munitions in Iran. We were showing the world, hey, we mean business. Do what we want or else. Now, I don't think Trump is going to bomb any country, especially Canada. But it shows the world that he's not just all words, which is what people have been saying. I've been saying Trump's all words. But he is pushing to show that he's not. I still think this is all words. But hey, I've been wrong before. What do I know? I'm just some guy on the internet. Anyway, I'm going to probably leave it there. It's a great article by Daily Mail if you want to read it. dailymail.com or .co.uk. It was one of the top articles there. They usually are pretty not too biased against Trump and not too biased for Trump. They're pretty middle of the road on it. I think they're pretty good. If you're looking for a decent news place that still leans probably left, especially when it comes to the Ukraine, which honestly they haven't reported on in a while. At least not in the top pages. So anyway, I'm going to leave it there. What do you guys think? Is Trump's idea to, tax Canada to death a good idea? Or is he just messing around and flexing muscle and making it look like America's stronger? Maybe. I don't know. I think it's going to be the latter. I think he is just pushing Canada around to see what they do and what he can get for free out of them. Trump literally wrote the book on how to make a deal, and he's probably going to get most of what he wants. The thing is, Trump never says what he actually wants. You always ask really high for something. It's like he goes to a car dealership and says, I want that car for free. And they're looking at him like he's a crazy person. And they're like, no, we're not going to do that for you. And Trump's like, yeah, you are. Or else. Or else what? I'm going to go to somebody else. But it's free. And in reality, he wants about $2 or $3 grand off the price, the sticker price of the car. And they're like, oh, I guess we could do that. That's what Trump does. He has an outrageous ask, and then he dials it back to what he actually is willing to accept. He knows that he's asking for more than he can ever get. The man's brilliant. He does so by looking like a crazy person. It's fascinating and fun to watch. Anyway, that's it for today. Have a blessed day. Have a great weekend, and see you next time.